And then he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. Don't wish for less problems, wish for more skills.
I can't catch a break, guys.
Yeah.
Get them the fuck away from me. I can't be around those guys.
People think, oh, well, cleaning your room, that's just a cliche. It's like, yeah, really, eh? Just go ahead and try it.
If people had any idea how powerful sleep is for healing from anything, and the fact that it's free.
My mind is absolutely bulletproof, solid as a rock.
Podcast. Alright guys, welcome to another episode of the Fighting Fit Show. Today's topic is going to be HIIT and the benefits of HIIT training. So first off, we're just going to go into a little quick segment on what is HIIT. So what I have here is HIIT stands for high intensity interval training. This is periods of high intensity exercise followed by periods of low intensity rest or active recovery. What do you guys think? First impressions on HIIT training?
It's class.
Like it?
Yeah, it's fun.
That's pretty much the only way we really train.
Yeah, so again, obviously, listen, to full disclosure again, we're a huge lover of HIIT anyway. We've kind of designed our whole program around HIIT training. The main reason being because it's super fast, effective and efficient. The number one reason most people drop out of an exercise program or don't exercise long term is because of lack of time. So what we've tried to do at Fighting Fit is create a super effective and efficient workout program that people can stick to long term, because if you haven't got 30 minutes to work out, it's probably a time management issue rather than a lack of time.
I agree.
So HIIT training, so let's
high
see
intensity, let's start with that definition.
Yeah.
High intensity. So high intensity is working at 85% to 95% of your VO2 max.
Of your VO2 max. Okay.
VO2 max.
VO2 max and heart rate. Well, there would be correlation between the two. What we try and do in here again, because one of the issues that we come across is people think they're doing high intensity training, but in reality it's only like just moderate or slightly high moderate intensity training. Maybe 75% of the maximum heart rate. That's why, as part of our program in studio, we use heart rate monitors. This keeps people honest, meaning that they'll never essentially waste a workout, and that you'll always know what kind of heart rate zone that you're in to make sure that you're maximizing your return on every second in the gym.
Sounds about right.
Yeah. So, but again, continue, Chris.
So
Other benefits of HIIT training.
It's good for losing body fat, strengthening your cardiovascular system. You can use it to develop sport-specific energy systems, increase your mental toughness, helps you develop your work capacity, improves fat and carbohydrate oxidation in skeletal muscle, and challenges your fast twitch muscle fibers.
Cool. Well, that's one of my favorite things about two of my favorite things about HIIT training that you touched on there. One is the mental toughness. I think that is extremely underlooked. The fact that you come in, you go balls to the wall. Like, there's a lot to be said for that, and I think that's one of the main benefits of just any sort of training program in general, is the fact that you just really condition yourself to push yourself. You're always you're just always challenging that comfort zone, always stretching that comfort zone. What is it saying? You train yourself to be comfortable in an uncomfortable position. I think that's one of the, in terms of from a mental health standpoint, I think that's one of the hugely beneficial parts of particularly high intensity interval training. But I also find running is great for that as well, because I find most people don't like running, but that's why it essentially can be really good for you, because it's kind of a constant mental battle of like, we sore knee, or I should stop. These kind of that inner dialogue that's taking place inside your head, but you overcome it, and after a while, you become extremely mentally tough. As well as running is a beautiful I think beautiful way to just to think and sort things out in your head, or can be a great opportunity to take time out to listen to your favorite music, audiobooks, podcasts, all that kind of stuff. So we're not necessarily saying that I don't like cardio, because there is huge benefits, but I feel like you don't need, particularly now because we've got a huge group of people who come to the Dublin Half Marathon, and they feel like they're under a huge amount of pressure to train for hours and hours and hours and hours, put in miles and miles and miles every week, which is great if you got the time and you enjoy it and this kind of stuff. But there's studies that show it was 2 hours of high intensity training per week, with I think it was one long run, which is kind of the training that I'm going to be doing for the half marathon, versus 5 hours of running per week, you know, so there's like a 3-hour difference there. It's huge, like it's 40% of the time commitment. You know, if you've got work, family, kids, all these other commitments, you know, some people just literally don't have the time to put that in, but it's just as effective. So that's not, so it's the whole thing between cardio and HIIT is like, depending on, like, they're just as good as each other on some level, but it's like HIIT is like, you know, like 25, you can get the same benefits in like 25% to 33.33%. So in a quarter or a third of the time commitment, you can get the same benefits. And one of the other great transfers I find is long distance running will not make you a better sprinter.
Yeah, true.
HIIT will make you a better sprinter and it will make you a better long distance runner. So you get that transfer. So you're training both systems at once. So for me, it definitely does have its pros, and again, that's why we've built our program around HIIT and obviously strength training. From looking at the research, I find that, you know, the best programs out there have, you know, a strength training element and a high intensity interval training element, and then you can mix it up as much as possible to try and keep it fun, to try and eliminate boredom and this kind of stuff, and, you know, this whole kind of muscle confusion ideology and, like, you know, making sure that people are functionally fit for life and this kind of stuff as well is important.
Yeah, so one of the big things I would say on just anybody running a half marathon or even thinking about running in general is that I think people make, do you ever hear about the book, I've never read it myself, but Born to Run? It's kind of like, at some stage I think we were born to run, and I think right now nobody's fit to run. Not nobody, but it's like, if I think sitting needs to be really addressed with everything, and posture and mobility really needs to be addressed with any kind of pursuit you take on in health and fitness. For me, for talk's sake, I remember I boxed for a whole pile, and there wasn't really any issues with injury, and then I started doing Olympic lifting, and I didn't necessarily do the mobility aspect of things right. I had no overhead capacity, started putting weights overhead and ran into a big problem. I remember we had a captain's chair, and I remember literally despising that thing because it asked me to take my knees above 90 degrees, and even just flexion in general hurt my hip flexors, and I wrote it off as normal. I didn't really know any better. But the big thing was I just had brutally tight hip flexors, and that was really, really painful. And then, as I said, just with running, there's a difference between being mentally tough and being a meathead. You know, so and it's like, look, sometimes you have to work hard, and other times you have to work smart. When you have to work hard, and when you have to work smart, work smart. If you've sat your whole life, you've an office job, you went to school, you went to college, you're sedentary your whole life, before you start taking up any kind of practice in heavyweight training, HIIT training, or running for any kind of period of time, I think that you really have to address your mobility and flexibility, and see if you've got a range of motion that will allow you to do those things injury free.
Yeah. So I think it's an important part of a workout program to incorporate, and that's one of the reasons that we have invested so heavily in yoga training and Pilates. Again, you guys qualified as Pilates instructors, and me and Jen as yoga instructors, because it's important that that the program has that sort of balance, and we have these options available to people. But one of the biggest people who need them. But one of the biggest problems I find is people, unless they're burning a huge amount of calories, unless they're walking out of the studio with absolute buckets of sweat, they feel like the workout has not been productive. And that's one of the kind of the mindset shifts. And obviously us as coaches, it's about us to portray or to educate people on the benefits and why it's important to take that little bit of time out, to the whole yin and yang philosophy. You know, it can't be yang all the time. Yang meaning the high intensity stressful stuff. It has to be yin sometimes. Sometimes that's why yoga, you know, because sometimes even meditation or just kind of just chilling out, that's why the rest days are important. Some people just want to go 7 days a week non-stop. And that brings me on to the HIIT training, as you were saying, Chris. Like, it's extremely stressed on the body. Yeah. And that's one of the reasons why, like, the sessions are only 30 minutes, because you can't do HIIT training.
You can. You start to fatigue and you start to break down. And
but it's not. It's like the law of diminishing returns. Yeah. Every second or every minute after that, say, 20-30 minute period, becomes less and less, and you're getting less and less of a return on your investment of time, effort, and energy in the gym. And that's why kind of people, I love training for an hour and stuff. But it's like, from my perspective, it's like it's just way more effective to do it for a short period of time, to give your body that period of recovery. To not overstress your body, because most people come to us already stressed. They're already stressed from work, family life, all this kind of stuff. They're already stressed from not getting enough sleep. They're already stressed, and then they want to come in and they want to just compound stress on top of stress. And that's why I feel like one of the key things that people are doing wrong, because a lot of people forget, and I have tested with several clients, and there is good research to back it up, that if you just stop training, for some people, if you just stop training and prioritize that extra hour to sleep, you lose more weight, be more healthy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just not about beating your body up 24/7. So, but again, HIIT training is great, but you got to prioritize the yin element. You got to prioritize the recovery too.
Yeah, like if you haven't got any kind of mobility in your hips, or you haven't got any kind of overhead capacity, it's like, don't do high intensity efforts with high loads, or like
overhead.
Oh yeah, overhead. It's like, it doesn't make sense. So it's like in that case, it's like, if fat loss is your thing, it's like, sort out your diet and then do yoga or do Pilates and sort your body out and put your effort, log your hour in that sense.
Yeah. Because if you're in pain, it's like, don't push through the pain barrier.
Pain, like pain and discomfort are different.
Exactly.
Pain and effort are clearly different. I wish I had and maybe not clearly. Maybe not clear.
It's not clear.
Maybe it's not clear at all, actually, because like when I was on that captain's chair, it's like I genuinely just had a box in my corner where I put the captain's chair, and I was like, I just hate that exercise in particular, and I had no gumption why. Really no gumption why. Just kind of, I must just have weak hips. I'll just ignore that.
What does gumption mean?
Gumption idea.
So and just on that again. So just to move on to even the effectiveness of HIIT training versus cardio. So I want to just reference the Tabata study. So the Tabata study is really cool, and again, I encourage any members listening to this, feel free to to jump on the bike, the Echo bike. For if you're really looking to improve your cardiovascular fitness, jump on the Echo bike, do a Tabata round. It literally lasts 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and again, the studies show that it's just as effective as 60 minutes of moderate intensity training. 60 minutes. So again, I have the study up here. I'm just going to read out a couple of things. So just if anyone hasn't heard of the Tabata study before, Tabata, I can't pronounce his first name really. Tabata was a Japanese scientist, and he worked with the Japanese Olympic speed skating team. But he split up the team into two groups. Group 1 did moderate intensity training over a long duration, a daily 60-minute session, 5 days a week at 70% of their VO2 max. So that's 5 hours of training per week. All right. The second group, the Tabata group, did high intensity interval training, also for 5 days a week. They did it. They did 4 days of sessions, mixing 20 seconds at 170% of VO2 max with 10 seconds recovery, repeated 8 times. On the 5th day, they did 30 minutes at 70% plus 4 Tabata repeats. So that adds up to 48 minutes of training per week. So we're talking about 48 minutes of training per week versus 5 hours of training per week.
Yeah, okay. So
the second group,
so it wasn't just 4 minutes once a day and go home.
But it was. Let me see. No, because that one session a week, they done 30 minutes.
Yeah. So it was
70
seconds.
seconds.
30 minutes.
Longer
30
session.
minutes of 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Of broken up into 4. That's really cool. That's unreal.
Tabatas are tough though.
Tabatas are tough.
Wrong.
And essentially they got better results. So group 1, average capacity rose by 10%. The average anaerobic capacity, a measure of oxygen deficit, saw no change. So again, so there still is, not saying there is no benefits of training at kind of the longer moderate intensities, because they've seen a 10% increase. But the Tabata group, even though there was a huge difference in the amount of time spent training, their capacity rose by 15%. Their average aerobic capacity, but their anaerobic capacity rose 23%, whereas there was no change in the first group. And that's what I find is the best, one of the best, biggest benefits of high intensity interval training is that transfer. The fact that we're able to train two systems at once. So I can do a high intensity workout and get fitter aerobically. Whereas aerobics will not make you a better
Most
sprinter.
sports anyway use,
That's right.
unless you're doing long distance running, like most sports use the anaerobic capacity.
They require, you've got to train both systems.
Yeah.
You normally you go aerobic, dip into the anaerobic for help. That'll fade back to aerobic, and then just keep cycling the two. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, that's what it is for boxing anyway.
But that's how I was just thinking. What are sports?
Huh?
Football.
Yeah, football, Gaelic, any sort of intermittent bursts of effort.
Bowling.
Darts.
You're right. I just find that to be incredible, and again, just to really kind of drill that home for the people that are out doing the long runs, because I know the old school running kind of ideology is, you got to put the miles in, you got to put the miles in, you got to put the miles in. But literally, I'm saying, like, if you literally, instead of going out for your 1 hour run, you know what I mean, jump on the Tabata bike, do 4 minutes 20 seconds, and it's literally as
two or
effective.
3 times.
No, but this so again the study was again, and that's because this the whole thing. It's like more is not always better because it's so stressful. You got to give because the rest is where the magic happens. You got to give your body the opportunity and the rest, in that rest and digest phase, to actually improve. If you're just doing it, so again, so just to be clear, so the study was it was 5 training days. 4 days out of them 5, it was literally just 4 minutes 20 seconds, not including warm-ups and cool downs. So obviously, so you still have to, again, one thing, because it's high intensity. If you want to, because again, one of the cons can be, injury. So it's like if you're doing high intensity training, you want to just make sure that you're well oiled, you're well warmed up, you're ready to go. But that was literally 4 days, and then the last day, 1 day a week, then they done 30 minutes at 70%. So 70% of the VO2 max, and 4 Tabata repeats. So I assume 4 Tabata with repeats is 4 rounds of Tabata, maybe stacked one day a week. But to be fair, I'm not 100% sure what it means by 4 Tabata repeats. It may mean something different. I assume that's what it is.
And what's the Tabata intensity? So you got 100, or you get 70% is the moderate, and then on the...
It's 170% of your VO2 max. So it's like going balls to the wall, essentially. So it's going flat out.
So essentially 90 to 98%.
And that's the key. It's like as hard as you can possibly go.
I might do that for a week.
So one thing that I'd say is beneficial about that is the oxygen that created. So that's that's the EPOC response as well they get for burning fat. So it'll rev up your metabolism. When you work in the glycolytic system or the anaerobic system, it's like you're creating an oxygen that has to be paid, and like your metabolism is the sum total of all your metabolic reactions. So it's basically, that's measured by how much oxygen you consume and expel. Yeah, and that's because it's at 170%. There's a 70% oxygen debt that needs paid back, and that is what results in the
every day.
Yeah, that's what results in the EPOC response. Or what does it say? Your metabolism is increased. I think it's 15 to 20% for up to 36 hours. Is one of the figures I've heard.
That's really interesting.
Yeah,
that's really interesting.
Yeah, and again, for us, even like for things like boxing, for all these different, particularly sports like football, rugby, so anything that involves kind of slowing down and bursts of speed, which is literally most field sports, most kind of combat sports.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to say. You can make high intensity interval training sport specific, which is really, really cool. If you're doing this here, or if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a Fight and Fit member, you're just doing your own training or whatever it is, if you're a boxer, if you're a footballer, if you're a basketballer, if you're a hockey player, whatever it is, if you're a wrestler, whatever the sort of thing is, doing drills, like if you're a boxer, do the heavy bag, do a Tabata on the heavy bag, or it doesn't even have to be 20. Tabata is 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, in case we didn't mention that. 4 rounds of that, or 8 rounds of that. But you can do high intensity intervals like 10 seconds on, 60 seconds off. So if you want to go 10 seconds flat to the mat sprinting, which is like an actual like Olympic 100-meter sprint, and then rest for 6 seconds, then do it again, then rest 6 seconds, do it again. That's like training for sprinting. You'll get better at sprinting by doing that. If you are a boxer and you want to increase your capacity to go all out and have bursts of aggression, 10 seconds of the bag, bomb, 60 seconds rest, 10 seconds of the bag, 60 seconds rest. If it's let's say basketball or volleyball or something like that there, squat jumps would be perfect. So you can do squat jumps
or
and
even
just rest.
Up and down the court. Bringing ball control into it as well.
Yeah,
it's very hard to get into the red zone just by.
I would. If I had a basketball, I'd run up and down the court. Any sort of run gets my.
But I'd say that's because you don't play basketball. If you're like again, I'd say it'd be similar, like let's say skipping or shadow boxing.
If you double unders, you'd get there, no problem.
Yeah.
So how would you do it? It's a basketball drill.
Jump, squat jumps, jump as high as you can. Max effort jumps. That's one of the things that actually I've seen a big difference with the clients we coach here. So we get them, let's say we go, alright guys, squat jumps, and there's 30 seconds of squat jumps. They're just doing squat jumps. They're jumping just in a rhythm or that they're comfortable with. And I go, no, jump as high as you can, land off as high as you can every single time. It's like they'll go up into the red zone straight away. Like a jump is actually like, if you're jumping as high as you can, it's a max effort movement, and you can really reach those high. Those high efforts.
Because one of the things that get your heart rate up is, again, if we think of like heart rate as your heart obviously supplying your your muscles with blood carrying the oxygen, so you're supplying your muscles with oxygen. So the faster your heart will beat faster, the more demand there is for oxygen, meaning the more muscular contractions that are taking place, the higher the demand for oxygen by your body. So this is why kind of compound movements, meaning using multiple joints, multiple muscles at the same time, have a higher or easier to get your heart rate up. Whereas, like, so for example, if I'm doing push-ups, listen, I could be absolutely busted in terms of a muscular fatigue standpoint, but my heart rate, I'm like in the grey zone.
Yeah.
It's because I'm predominantly just using my pecs, my triceps, and a couple of stabilizing muscles to shoulder.
That's one thing I was going to say. As soon as I started doing Pilates and I started incorporating like proper form and alignment into everything, and I was so far away from that to pull myself in a position and tuck my pelvis, squeeze my glutes, squeeze my core, feet together, squeeze the legs, externally rotate, and then do it is like my heart rate jump because you're actually been active in the parts muscles. You know, it's like normally what people do is they kind of like shrug the shoulders, tuck the elbows, and then just bend and extend at the elbow
to disengage as many muscles as possible to make the movement as easy as possible.
And it's and the opposite has the opposite effect. It's so difficult. Like I remember one time I was doing bent over rows, hamstrings primed, shoulders tight, and then did it. And compared to what I used to do before, it was a massive difference. Even my heart rate, weights were like 7s, and I used to do like 12.5s, and I used to be in the green, and then I was up in the red.
Yeah, actually, one of the things that since you started getting into your mobility stuff and all that jazz, I noticed when you start correcting people with really good form, and let's say someone doing an overhead press, like won't name names, but there's someone who's really poor posture and they're trying to do overhead presses and they're pressing out in front of them rather than up above. When you try and, like, he was going with, like, let's say I think like 15 kgs at the time, which is not great for his shoulders. Then he dropped down to I think it was like 8s or 7s or something like that there. And then when you're doing it, and all he's focusing on is trying to keep the arms back and recruiting all these muscles in the back, because those muscles are so weak and they're so unused to doing that. Like the effort it takes to just hold the position, it just increases the intensity so much.
If you see anybody that knows the form and is cheating the form, the only reason that they're cheating the form is weakness. It's the only reason. It's like posture. Like posture is strength. You know, it's like if you haven't got the posture, it's only because of a lack of strength. Yeah. You know, so it's like I said, it's like you did
posture again. Is more likely you have weak lower trap muscles that literally can't pull your shoulders back and down into position.
And
tight.
And true. Yeah. And maybe comparatively strong tight pecs that are literally just pulling the shoulder girdle forward.
But so the problem with that is then it's like you become strong in a closed range.
And that's something you said to me before, which really resonated, was like if you lift heavy weights in that position, you just reinforce, or you make that weak position or that bad position even stronger. You're just reinforcing that negative position.
Yeah, it's the same with boxing. I find it's like when we did this, and every time you take an impact, everything would tighten and solidify. So it's bump, wrench it tighter. But the big thing is like, so let's say for talk's sake, now what I'm doing to everybody, anybody just listens, if you round your shoulders forward, the distance of the muscle that is closed now, it's like now the part of your muscle that's engaged, if you stay closed in that area of your shoulder for the entire rep, is like, well, now the aspect of the pec that opens the shoulders and are open are actually disengaged because they're short, and when a muscle is short, it's at its weakest. So what we want to do is we want to open up the chest for talks like a bent over row bench press, and when you open up and we create a long lever, well, now the whole lever is used. Whereas what people do is they shorten the lever, work a very small specific part of the muscle, and then the rest of the muscle is neglected. Form, honestly, all the form, like the form is where it works. And for 90% of classes, I spend the first 80% correcting, and then maybe for the last 20%, it's like, right, up the intensity now that you've got it. Because all the efforts in the form, and for the most part, people's heart rates are jumping because it takes so much. As I said, the big thing is all you see is people being pulled into a seated position. All they want to do is round the shoulders, tuck the knees up closer to the hips, and then the sad part as well is then when you get them to actually actively lift the knees, they don't want to go anywhere near the hips because the hips are the legs so used to being held at a 90-degree point from knee, ankle, knee, and hip, and then your torso, is that anytime that it wants to go up there, that spot's obviously weak because it spent so much time being short, it's underdeveloped. And then you take people and they want to start running and extending the hip. It's like then you get people that having knee issues and hip pain and tight hamstrings and pulling this and tweaking this and rolling the ankle. That's actually another good one. little bit off topic, but it's like when people run, one big thing I really notice is the inversion of the ankle.
Yeah, my foot like will completely collapse when I'm running.
Yeah, so if anybody's running, just be very, very mindful of if your ankle, what would you say, the inside of your ankle is folding in each side.
Yeah, so you can almost see a lot of people's shoes and kind of where people's shoes
and you see this weird sort of like sort of zigzagging the legs the whole way up. So like because it comes in at the ankle, the knees come in then as well.
Yeah. And that's the big thing is that people think that they've got
the toes split,
they've got just knocked knee, and it's actually could start at the ankle. And then the poor thing about that is like literally like a rolling pin, your ankle will would it be it would kind of be your ankle would literally roll out the arch of your foot and make it flat, and then you get people who get flat feet because their ankle is collapsing.
But I find that when I do go for runs, if I pull my toes up, helps reinforce that arch, helps drive my knees out, and I just run on my toes like and really try and reinforce that arch up until where I actually get to the point where I fatigue. Like I can run fine. Like I notice I have a niggle in my left knee, and when I run with on my toes, and I can maintain that arch of my foot because I'm fresh. So no pain. It's absolutely fine. And then all of a sudden, it's like I'll notice the point where my foot just starts to give up due to fatigue, and it starts coming in, and then like 2-3 minutes later, I start noticing that little niggle in the knee. A
big thing that I would kind of say with that kind of stuff is that one of the main sources, like obviously any slack in your system has to be fed downstream, and I would say it starts from the glutes. So it's
what do you mean by that?
So it means obviously like if your ankle has got space to roll, like if it's rolling off the bottom, it's like obviously there's slack there.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a levers. So whatever tendon or muscles are running all the way down your leg, something up top is not.
I think it's piriformis.
Where does piriformis attach to it? The glutes. Yes, and it could all start at the hips. So when we sit all day, it's like and the pelvis tilts forward, the glutes are overextended. So we talked about overextension. Obviously, then you've lost all mechanical advantage. The glutes switch off, the hamstrings are overextended, everything's overextended, and then there's like somewhere has to pick up the slack, and normally it falls on a joint, and then you get people with joint pain.
Yeah. So it's just to bring it back to
hit.
If you let Brandon talk, he'll talk about.
But sorry, but just about the running in terms of the list. So it's like that's where I think that maybe lists can come because when you're doing long set, it's basically like for people running marathons. If you want to run a marathon, well then maybe what you should do is you should see your runs less of just getting the miles in and conditioning the proper form when you're running. That's really 100%. What it should be.
And what I want to get across to people here is just kind of segue into mobility and flexibility and this kind of stuff as well. Is just it's so important that if you're doing the high intensity interval training with us that you do prioritize the flexibility, mobility, the Pilates, all that kind of stuff, because it's so important when you're training at a high intensity that we're not reinforcing all these negative movement patterns.
Like for talk's sake, if you say a squat jump, well, a squat jump is a certain pattern of movement.
Triple extension.
Yeah, so it's and the flexion in the right place and making sure that everything's lining up. And so if you're doing a high intensity squat jump, let's make sure we're doing a high intensity squat jump. You know, if you're doing a medicine ball slam, well, what's one of the things that you learn at work? It's a safe lift technique. Let's make sure that our spine's braced when we're lifting anything off the floor, because it's super important that when you're doing something at a high intensity, that it's not just Sarah's magic move to get a ball off the floor and over her head. It's like no, there's a certain technique with this, and if you haven't got the mobility to do that, well then mobility needs addressed. And some people are lucky movers. I literally get some people come into the gym and have got just magic hips that are just fantastic,
and they're really kinesthetically aware. A lot of times it's just some people poor kinesthetics. They just don't understand how to move the body well.
And what they think, what the advice would be is like, let's start where you're at. Let's take the ego out. Let's take the ego out of the workout, and don't be trying to medicine ball slam the 12 or 15 kg. Let's get the technique right, drop down to the 6, because if you'll move better, you'll be able to get more reps, and as we talked about before.
And then
we'll get more muscular contractions because we're lifting lighter weight, so you can do it faster with better technique.
And reinforce positive posture and all that jazz, and build better neural pathways.
Exactly. So anyone listening, that's a fine. But remember, one of the key points I just want to get across is stop shooting off early. Do your bloody stretches.
That's good. I like that.
You know what I mean? It's like if you haven't got that 5 minutes at the end of your stretches, you need to go to an earlier workout.
Or the other thing as well.
That's why I have on the new timetable. I have literally in the bottom in red. Please allow 5 minutes for stretches. This is non-negotiable.
Or if you're going to the gym, a common one here is I'm going for a walk, I'm going for a gym, I'll do my stretches after. Just as a note, it would be more beneficial to stretch before it.
Yeah, the more you stretch about it, 'cause that's one of the key things you learn about stretching. Because particularly a lot of the time, it's not necessarily about stretching the muscle. It's about stretching the tendons and the ligaments, and they require at least 3 to 5 minutes each to actually see any improvement in flexibility. They're different to muscles. So it's like this, like yin yoga is a style of yoga where you literally hold the pose for 3 to 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes each.
Is there any HIIT kind of yoga styles?
HIIT yoga.
Well, there'd be Ashtanga yoga, which would be like, or like you can do like a power yoga, which again would get your heart rate up a lot. I actually haven't done a yoga session with a heart rate monitor on, which would be interesting. But for me, the reason I done yoga was not necessarily to do that. It's not the kind of yoga that I'm really interested in doing.
You're more into the yin side.
Yeah, because if I want to yanks, like I love boxing, I love lifting weights, I love kettlebells, I love slam balls, I love battle ropes, I love all this kind of stuff. But when I want to get my heart up, I want to utilize this stuff. But then at the same time, I want to be a little bit mindful, bring in a little bit of meditation, and I want to do the yoga for the flexibility and mobility aspect of it. So I wouldn't, again, because obviously our focus is always to help our clients first off. So it's like I feel like the yin style yoga is what they would need more, plus the Pilates style stuff. And just on a quick note, anyone listening, we have literally just this week incorporated a new kind of pay as you go option for Brandon's Pilates sessions. So if you do want to kind of come in, because a lot of people aren't necessarily really sure, I feel like, what Pilates is, and again that whole mentality where like, if I'm not going to come out sweating, it's not going to be a productive use of time. So it's like almost like
Pilates, right? It's bloody tough.
It's really difficult. It's really difficult.
Pilates is difficult.
Exactly. So what we want to do is we incorporate this kind of pay-as-you-go system so that people come in and taste the class. Listen, we believe in commitment. We believe in, listen, if you're going to do it, sign up for the course. Do it for 8 to 12 weeks. Is kind of popping in and out here, there, everywhere when it suits. Is just not going to be the most productive way to kind of get the results that you probably need. But at the same time, we want to give you the opportunity to come in and try it out to see if it's something that you'd be into. But I feel like 99.9% of the population could definitely benefit from some sort of Pilates, yoga, some sort of movement practice. Exactly.
Is that less?
No,
steady state.
But again, it depends. I'd be interested in any sort of movement. Like walking is literally my favorite list. Like walking is amazing because what's the likelihood of injury? Practically zero. You know what I mean? Is the body going to be stressed out afterwards? No. Is it good for mental health? Is it good for all these other things? Yes, walking is a fantastic form of cardio, and that's why we promote the bloody Fitbits. Just move. Just move your body. Any sort of movement is good for general health. It's like diet and movement. Step 1. You know what I mean? You want to increase your results. You want to get there a little bit faster. Right? Let's start lifting weights. Let's start doing some high intensity training on top of that as well. But if you have all these other things ready first, it's like if you're not sleeping, you know what I mean? Even we talked about in the last sleep podcast, what was it, like you can lose like, I think it was like 250% more fat. There was a study done, I think people were getting 5 hours sleep and people were getting like 8.5 hours sleep, and the 8.5 hour group lost like 250% more fat. I think it was like 1.3 pounds versus 3.3 pounds on average or something per week or something like that. So it's like, that's a huge return, but it's like, it wasn't due to a calorie deficit. Like the control for calories, everything else was the same workout program. The only differentiator was sleep. All this other stuff that you think is not necessarily a waste of time.
Sleep is anabolic.
Yes, again, sleep, rest is where the magic happens. When you're asleep, this is literally where the adaptation occurs.
Yeah,
so that's super
assume your body will slow down your metabolism if you're not getting enough sleep.
Yeah. So again, the key thing I want to get at is like, I'm not hating on lists. I like lists. A lot of people will hate on lists and say, it's a waste of time. You got a higher chance of injury, all this kind of stuff. But like walking is lists. I like jogging because again, I like the headspace. I literally feel unbelievable when I'm doing. I get in these fantastic train of thoughts. You get. Especially if you listen to a good podcast or these kind of good things that kind of trigger positive thoughts and kind of get you thinking about your goals in the future and all this kind of stuff. It's very, very useful, but HIIT training is just so super effective and efficient that if you're busy, if you've got kids, you've got all those other commitments, I would strongly recommend that you make it a core part of your training routine. In preferences, like an hour long Zoom and all this kind of stuff. And listen, number one, do what you like, but this is super fast, effective and efficient. So I think people should definitely do it. But sorry, one of the drawbacks I want to touch on before we finish up is the hormonal response that you talked about earlier on.
Yeah.
Is that LISS doesn't necessarily complement a strength training program because it there's a high release of cortisol being a stress hormone, whereas HIIT training is much more anabolic meaning it complements muscle growth. So you're gonna burn more muscle, you're gonna increase the hormones like testosterone, growth hormone, grow more muscle in an anabolic state. So it complements a strength training program. This is why, again, our core training philosophy is what we've coined HIIT and lift.
So here's what I'd say. If you're running and you get to a stage of fitness where running's like walking, like you could run indefinitely.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Would it still release the same cortisol?
No.
Yeah, so I think is it about prolonging?
It's about the intensity.
Yeah, it's about prolonging an intensity you shouldn't be prolonging yourself in. So that's why it should be high intensity intervals for a short duration. That's probably what it is, 4 minutes. Which is it's kind of like, look, you can do less as long as it is less.
Exactly.
Because
when I run, it's a little bit different. Because when I run, because sometimes I wear the heart monitor and stuff as well. Like when I run, I'm running for time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I rarely, but I do it once in a while. It's an amazing experience to just run at a comfortable pace.
That's all I do.
And it's
but
nice.
I train for the long runs.
Yeah, and it builds up your aerobic system. It makes your body more effective at utilising oxygen as energy. It's
you
great.
get the miles in.
Yeah, you get the miles in. Again, it's great headspace. But if I'm doing a 5k and I'm trying to knock 10 seconds or so, I'm literally always going, almost pacing myself obviously to last the 5k, but almost going as fast as I can over that distance. So it is the intensity is key. That's why a lot of people, good runners, will go they'll go out for an hour and they'll be really strict with staying at a certain heart rate because again each session is focused and they're trying to train a specific system.
Yeah, one of the guys
do speed sessions.
One of the guys that was here, he said that he did a marathon and he did the first time he just kind of went out and what was it? Was it a speed training something? I don't know the details, but it was something like there is a certain heart rate he had to be in, and he thought, it's going to annoy me that I can't think of what it is. Like whatever intensity he thought he had to run at, he thought it was like higher than it was, and he actually had a poor result. So the next time he went around, I was like, oh, actually, you know what it is? It was actually 20-30 beats over what I thought it was. So he went back 20-30 beats for his training runs, and he got way better.
Yeah.
But just by lowering the intensity down, obviously his body was able to adapt to the micro stress rather than just this gang.
Yeah.
All right, back to HIIT. Why do you like HIIT, Brian?
I like HIIT because I like it because it's fun. I like it because you get to work at a really high intensity. You get to get that feeling where you really do a really hard workout. Most of the exercises are pretty dynamic. It's over before you know it. You do get that kind of that fatigue, deadness, and you get a real endorphin rush after it because you genuinely jack it up that much that when you're finished after, you're like, oh, all the stress relief now from napping over. And then apart from that, it's like I actually find, because I do an awful lot of long runs, you get an awful lot more breaks when you do HIIT, which is great. Like I remember one of our lecturers was basically saying all day, like when you do HIIT, it's like when everybody else is still working, you're resting.
Yeah.
So it's like you go really hard, and you get a break.
Yeah.
And then you go really hard, and then you get another break.
Yeah, so it's like you can almost, it's easy for people to break it down, right? 30 seconds and
Yeah.
get a bit of a break. 30 seconds, get a little bit of a break.
Do you ever do that?
Or
Do you ever do that when you're running? When you're doing when you're running on a treadmill. So it's like let's say you're doing a 10-minute run on a treadmill. So you run for 1 minute and you're running faster. You're like, all right, just have to do this 10 more times. You break it down. It's like it gets to 2 minutes. So you have to do this 5 more times.
5 minutes left. That's 1 minute 5 times.
Yeah, exactly.
That's 30 seconds 10 times.
So
15
really,
seconds 20
so I think
times.
really everybody just hitting their head anyway.
Yeah. So it's really cool.
Why do you like it?
I like it again because I love to train at a high intensity. Again, for me, I feel like it's cool because you get a great sense of self accomplishment when you push yourself out of your comfort zone, which I really like. And again, and it's just because I'm aware of the science behind it, I love that it's super fast, effective, and efficient. Like obviously, as you get older and older, you get more responsibilities. Life gets busier and busier, and it's like it's so great knowing that you just worked out for 30 minutes, a couple minutes here and there for stretching on top of that. But it's like that's you done for the day. And it was super productive. It was super effective. We have the heart rate monitor. I know exactly how many calories I burned. I know the amount of time I spent in the different heart rate zones.
It's not even that. It's not like it's very hard to worm your way out of a 30-minute workout. You're like,
there's virtually. I just honestly, I hate when people text me. I don't want to say hate because listen, people. No one really knows. No one really knows what's happening.
Sometimes there's a generous
lives. No, but it's like. It's 30 minutes. It's like it's like time should literally not be the excuse. That's literally been one of our number one priorities is to eliminate time being a factor. It's like it's a 30-minute workout with a little bit of stretching
plus commutes.
Yeah, but it's like but it's like, so if you're going to train for an hour, it's like, you still got commutes and showers
This
on
is
top of it
exactly,
anyway.
yeah.
So it's like, this is like, it doesn't get any more time efficient than what we're offering.
But that's what I'm saying. So let's say you live 15 minutes away. You're talking all in all, it's an hour and you're done.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like it's an hour and you're done. And it's like there was a great quote, and it basically said, if you haven't got an hour for exercise, so you've got no life.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like if you can't put away an hour a day for yourself.
Yeah, that's what I think is like, people try to give that excuse like they don't have time for the workout, but if you don't have time to do stuff that you like, it's like you really need to start reevaluating what you're doing with your life.
Because if I ask you, Chris, or say if you're one of these people, it's like I ask you, what's most important to you? My health, my family. It's like, all right, there are two of your top 2 values.
How long do you spend with them?
How long do you spend working on them things? Oh, geez, I never get to see the family because I work 40, 50 hours a week, and I don't have time to exercise because of blah 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 blah. It's like, well, your two of your number 1 values, or your top 2 values, you literally dedicate the least amount of time to. So it's like, and this is probably why
you're unhappy. Oh, okay.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so maybe if we shift how we're actually spending our time, and again, we're not saying it has to be hours and hours and hours a week. It's saying 2 hours a week. That's all we ask. 2 hours a week. Who doesn't have 2 hours over a week?
I know. So here you go. What's your favorite Netflix show?
Yeah, favorite Netflix show.
Game of Thrones, not Netflix.
I like Game of Thrones.
Chris, good show.
This is pretty badass.
Cool. How long is the episode of Game of Thrones?
An hour. This is it. And it's like, and you see that, and you're so totally right. And I say this to people all the time. It's like, oh yeah.
Many.
And then and then you ask them quiet. So, what about watching Breaking Bad? Oh yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
How many
6, 7, 8 seasons,
yeah,
an hour episode.
Seasons?
How many hours? Like, we're
That's
talking literally days and days and days and days worth of watching TV.
I remember when
it's literally about priorities. I always think about, I'm going to write a book someday, and it's going to be called the only excuse you'll ever need. I didn't make it a priority, and that's literally it.
Yeah,
because that's literally the only reason you haven't succeeded in any endeavor, in any goal. Yeah, because you didn't make it a priority.
Just make it like a 900-page book, and then somewhere there in the middle.
Yeah. But if you're genuine authorship, that's literally the only reason that we don't achieve anything. Myself included, nobody's perfect.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? But it's like, if the only reason I didn't get something is because I didn't make it an absolute priority. And again, I feel like money can be a great thing for people as well. It's like, it's like, what are your values? What are your priorities? What do you spend your money on? You get what I'm saying? But like, some people think personal training is too expensive. Well, you know, spending $100+ a night in a night at Ridley's or wherever you like to go. Yeah, it was a great night.
Yeah, like let's say, but honestly, let's put it down. €35 a week, right? €35 over 7 days. What's that per day? Divided over 7 days. We're not open 7 days, but let's just divide it over 7 days. What is that? €5 a day?
Yeah,
€35 a day.
€5 a day.
Cool. So let's talk about things you spend a $5 on every single day. Coffee.
Yeah, people compare to coffee a lot.
What's next? Take out one lunch.
Yeah.
So one
lunch a day is fucking half a lunch.
So
every time you eat out, it's like 15.
If you
I actually went for a salad there before. I spent like €16.
Yeah.
Like it's so inexpensive. It's hilarious. But the problem is it's not a priority.
I know for me, I think the problem with personal training is the frame. It's like when people are looking for personal training, they automatically frame it as a gym membership. A gym membership costs on average €30 to €50 a month on average, I'd say. And then all of a sudden, because it's £30 a month or £35 a week, it can seem expensive. But it's like, what are you getting? What's the return on investment from a gym membership? Yeah. Like virtually, it's literally you're literally renting equipment. That's literally it. You're literally just renting equipment. So it's like, I said this to the guys the other week when you're away. You can do both if you want. And we have some people that do that. But it's like going to a mechanic. It's like, this is kind of the gym model. You go to a mechanic, you tell him you have a problem with your car, and he says, oh yeah mate, don't worry, work away at the garage, all the tools, all the gear, all the stuff he needs in there. And you go and you're like, oh fuck, I don't know how to fix my car. It's like, so it's not the garage you need, it's the mechanic you need. Versus it's not the gym you need, you need a coach, it's the accountability, it's the motivation, it's the advice, it's the strategy, it's the plan.
I've seen infomercials on people fixing cars, and I've seen people in movies do it. So I must know how the ins and outs of it works. It's like your body's but it's like have you done it? It's like, what have you done it? It's like, how many times have you signed up to a gym membership? And it's like, not knocking gym membership. They work fantastic. If you're the type of person that it works for, it's like fantastic because it's a great value option.
Yeah, unreal.
Yeah, one of the biggest problems, because we obviously went a little bit off topic, but we covered a lot on HIIT training. One of the biggest problems with the health and fitness industry is people like us, personal trainers and stuff, are like so undervalued. So undervalued. And it really is disgraceful. And that's one of the reasons why so many people pass through the fitness industry, because they're just not valued enough, and it's just not a long-term sustainable career for them. because they're just undervalued. Everyone wants, it's like some sort of competition on price. And even though everyone will tell you that health is number one value, so a lot of people just don't want to spend the money on it. But again, we again our business model, again, our business is booming. It's great. Like, we've over 150 members, close to 200 members at any given time. We're always close to capacity. You know what I mean? It's like when you give people what they need versus what they want, and they get the results. You know, it's like any time someone comes in here, it's like we always have time for people. If you're paying someone on average, a gym member or a gym instructor gets paid like 10 an hour or whatever, the average minimum wage. It's like they've got so many responsibilities. You're paying €30 a week. How much time do you think they can actually give you? When you look at the economics of the business model, it's like they can't give you any time. They really can't. It's literally just impossible, because they have to keep the gym clean, they have to maintain the equipment, clean the bathrooms, blah blah blah. So,
and then you pay them and you're 50 cents a day.
You know what I mean? So it's like it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work out. And it's like one thing that we love to see: people come through our program, they do, and then they don't need us anymore. And some people sail away off, and then because it's a 12-week program, we've helped them integrate their habits, we've helped them shift that first 14, 20, 30 pounds, whatever it is, and then they've got the confidence. We taught them how to exercise properly. Now they're ready to graduate to a gym membership, which is great. Which is great. Our goal is give you all the tools and knowledge that you need, so that you don't need us, but you stay because you like our community, you like what you do, and you like having a coach. But you like having a coach. I love having a coach. Coaches work really well for two people. One, the absolute beginner doesn't have a clue what they're doing, except these people, I 110% recommend you a coach. And the second person is the person who wants to push their limits and see what they're capable of.
Yeah.
That's so there's
overcoming plateaus.
Exactly. So there's two types of people. So it's like the people who just need to get started and have kind of continually failed kind of when they're riding themselves or kind of the gym membership, and then there's the people who just want to take it to the next level, and then there's the people in the middle that are happy to tip away, and that's cool too. But again, one of them, obviously as a gym or as a studio business owner, my goal is obviously to just portray that value to people. Just really let them know that a personal trainer is one of the best investments that you can make in your life. Because I've been overweight and I tried all the gyms. No disrespect to any gym in the dog, but I've literally been at 90% of them, and none of them worked for me. But when I went back to my coaches, that's when I lost the weight, because it was the coach I needed. It's like, you can work out at home. If you do push-up setups, go for a run. You don't need the €5,000 treadmill or the squat machine, the Smith machine, the barbells, whatever it is. Like, you don't need that. Nice. You need something. They're nice. They're great. And if you like doing, that's cool. But it's like you need the coach, somebody to keep you accountable, somebody that you made a commitment to. I'm going to see you 4 times a week. I'll be here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And because you're told that, and again, one of the first reviews I ever got, I think, was Mick Mull. It's like, what was it like? I saw something along the lines of, I didn't want to let them down. And when you commit, it's like these kind of social contracts are very powerful. If I tell you I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to do something for you. You know what I mean? That pulls me towards doing it. Whereas a gym membership, where it's like, if you don't go, it doesn't really matter, because it's only it's only like, as Brian said, like 50 cents a day or less probably. You know what I mean? There's no pain.
50 cents a day, and if they run 7 classes a day, you're talking 10 cents a class.
Yeah.
Per member.
And it's exceptional value, but it's not. Exceptional. It hasn't been effective. It hasn't been effective because there's more budget gyms available right now than any other time in history, and people are fatter than they've ever been.
There's I've seen this, I forget where I've seen it, where there's a proportional relationship between the amount of McDonald's in the city and the amount of gyms.
Yeah, the more McDonald's, the more gyms.
The more gyms.
Yeah. Right. So there we go, guys. So anyway, just a quick recap. So again, HIIT Training.
It's class.
Super effective, super efficient. If you're limited for time, highly recommend it. But if you're going to do it, you got to do it right. Again, there's a high chance you're going to injure yourself if you do it wrong. You got to give yourself that chance to recover from it. You got to make sure other things like your sleep and your nutrition are spot on, so that you can do that effectively. And if you want to walk with us, www.fightingfitnation.com, 7-day free trial. You'll get the boys on Instagram, FFChrisM, FF Movement Coach, and fighting__fit, guys. If you did enjoy the podcast or the Fighting Fit show, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Share with your friends. And any suggestions for another topic you'd like us to cover, leave a comment below. See you in the next one, guys.
Peace.